What's up, my beautiful people? Welcome again to another video, and to my regular viewers and subscribers, enough respect. Big up on yourself. So in today's video, I am going to be continuing with my material quantity for this wall structure here. And in my last video, I have spent roughly around 35 minutes calculating the quantity for the reinforcement. So just to recap on what I have calculated with you so far, I have calculated the volume of excavation to be 11.60 meter cube. I have calculated the number of 6 inches concrete blocks to be 760, or 722 for the actual construction of that wall system. I have calculated the backfill, I have calculated the concrete, I have calculated the reinforcement steel, as I have mentioned to you before, to be 0.35 tons. And in today's video, I am going to be continuing with my 1-3 mortar mix, my rough cast and render, and my painting. So don't go away. Thank you. I am going to be going over the calculation for the 1-3 mortar mix. Now, we know that based on my research, it is going to take 4 to 6 bags of cement to lay 100 blocks. So if it's going to take 4 to 6 bags of cement to lay 100 blocks, we first have to identify how much blocks that it is going to need to do this project. And I have calculated previously that the number of blocks that it is going to take to do this wall structure here, it is going to be 722. We have calculated the amount of blocks to be 760 because we have added a 5% breakage factor to this 722 and get it up to 760. But the actual amount of blocks that is going to be needed to do the wall footing, it is going to be 722. Now, to be conservative, I am going to go with the upper figure. So I'm going to use 6 bags of cement to lay 100 blocks. 6 bags of cement to lay 100 blocks. So the first thing we have to establish is how much time we can get 100 blocks from out of 722 blocks. So it is going to be 722 divided by 100, and that is going to equal to 7.22 times. So we can get 100 blocks from 722 blocks 7.22 times. But in order to calculate the amount of bags of cement, so the amount of cement is going to equal to 7.22 times 6, and that works out to be 43.32 bags. And we can round this up to 44 bags. So it is going to take 44 bags of cement to lay this 722 blocks. Now we need to calculate the amount of quantity of sand or fine aggregate that is going to be needed to mix this 1-3 mortar mix. Now we are using a mixed proportion of 1-3, and remember previously I've said to you that 1-3, the 1 is for the cement, right, which is going to be 1 barrel of cement, 1 barrel, and this is going to be 3 barrels of fine aggregates or 3 barrels of sand. So this is going to be 3 barrels of sand. So we know that we have calculated 44 bags of cement. Now, in my estimation, based on when I was a project manager, it takes approximately 2.5 bags of cement to fill 1 barrel. But for ease of calculation, I'm going to use 2 bags of cement to fill 1 barrel. So we have 44 bags of cement. So we want to know how much barrel of cement that is equivalent to how much barrel of cement. Let me rephrase that. We want to know how much barrels of cement is equivalent to 44 bags of cement at 1 barrel equal 2 bags of cement. So in order to do that, we know that is 44 divided by 2, because we know that it's 2 bags of cement, right, which is equivalent to 1 barrel. So this will work out to be 22 barrels of cement, right? So in order to calculate the mixed proportion now in terms of our sand, which is the 1-3 mix, so we have a 1-3 mix. So we know that's going to take 22 barrels of cement. So this is going to be 22 barrels of cement. So we need to find out how many barrels of sand. So we have to times this 3 by 22, and that gives us 66. So we have a ratio of 22 to 66, which is the same as 1-3. So it's going to take 22 barrels of cement to mix this 66 barrels of sand. Now, a barrel, if you should measure your barrel on site, it should be in the range of 5 to 6 cubic feet. But for the purpose of this calculation, I'm going to use 1 barrel equivalent to 5 cubic feet. So we know that it is 66 barrels of sand. So we want to find out the total amount of cubic feet of sand. So we have to times this 66 by 5. So the quantity of sand is equal to 66 times 5, which works out to be 330 feet cubed. So it's going to be 330 cubic feet of sand, and you can convert this 330 cubic feet of sand to cubic yards. So let's do that. So convert to cubic yards is going to equal to 330 feet cubed divided by 27, and that works out to be 12.22 cubic yards, and you can round that up to 13 cubic yards. So to mix this 1-3 mortar mix, to lay the 722 blocks, it is going to be for our cement equal to 44 bags, and for our sand is going to equal to 13 cubic yards. So there we have it. It is going to take 44 bags of cement with 13 cubic yards of sand to mix this 1-3 mix, this 1-3 mortar mix to lay our 722 blocks. I am going to be calculating the material quantities for the rough cast and rendering. Now, based on my estimation, it is going to take 2 bags of cement to cover 1 meter square of wall. And we know that 1 meter is equivalent to 3.281 feet. Therefore, 1 meter square would equal to 3.281 square, which will equal to 10.76 square feet. So 1 meter square is going to take up 10.76 square feet of space. Now, to rough cast and render this wall structure, we need to obtain or to calculate the surface area. So in order to calculate the surface area, I have to turn back to my wall footing detail. So if you notice, the height of the wall above ground is 6 feet. So we are not concerned with the height or the depth of the wall below ground level. See, so we are only going to be considering the portion of the wall that is above ground level, which is 6 feet. Now we know that this wall has a length of 70 feet. So the surface area is going to equal to 6 feet by 70 feet, and that works out to be 420 square feet. Now we need to obtain how many times we can get 10.76 square feet from out of 420 square feet. So 420 square feet divided by 10.76 square feet is equivalent to 39. So we can get 10.76 from 420 square feet 39 times. Now we know that 1 meter square, which is equivalent to 10.76 square feet, is we are going to need 2 bags of cement. So to obtain the number of bags of cement, it is going to be 39 times 2, which is 78 bags. So to do the rough cast for this wall, it is going to take 78 bags of cement for only one side, right? So in order to obtain the quantity of sand or coarse sand, we have to go back to our mixed proportion ratio, which is 1:3. And we know, as I've said on numerous occasions, that the 1 is for the cement and the 3 is for the sand. So if we want to find out how much barrels of cement is equivalent to this 78 bags of cement, and remember, I've stated to you that it will take approximately 2.5 bags of cement to fill 1 barrel. But for this purpose of this exercise, I'm going to be using 2 bags of cement for ease of calculation. So to obtain how much barrels of cement we can get from 78 bags, we have to divide this 78 by 2. So this is going to be 78 divided by 2, which is 39 barrels. So 78 bags of cement is going to be equivalent to 39 barrels of cement at a ratio or a proportion of 2 bags of cement, which is equivalent to 1 barrel. So this one here is going to be equal to 39 barrels of cement. So in order to get the amount of sand, we have to times this 39 by 3, which works out to be 117. So it is 39 barrels of cement as against 117 barrels of sand. Now, based on approximation, it will take approximately 5 cubic feet of material to fill 1 barrel. So we want to obtain how much quantity in terms of cubic feet is equivalent to this 117 barrels of sand. So we will have to multiply this 117 by 5 to get the total in cubic feet. So a quantity of sand is going to equal to 117 times 5, which works out to be 585 cubic feet. Now we have to take into consideration that we're doing both sides. So this calculation is only for one side. Now, to calculate the cement and the sand for both sides, we know that the cement for one side is equal to 78 bags. So for both sides, it's going to equal to 78 times 2, which is 156 bags. And for our sand, is going to equal to 585 feet cube times 2, which works out to be 1,170 feet cube. So to do both sides of the wall, the rough cast, it is going to take 156 bags of cement and 1,170 feet cube of sand. Now we know that rough cast carries a lot of waste. You know, when you flash the concrete, the rough cast onto the wall, a lot of it is going to drop, is going to fall off. So based on my estimation, I'm going to use a waste factor of 10%. So it is going to be 10% is equivalent to 1.1. So we're going to have 1.1 times 1,170 feet cube, which will equal to 1,287 feet cube. And we can convert this 1,287 cubic feet to cubic yards by dividing by 27, and that works out to be 22.22 cubic yards. We can round this up to 23 cubic yards. And we're going to do the same thing for the cement. So we're going to have 1.1 times 156, and that works out to be 171.6, and we can run this off to 172 bags. So our material quantity for the rough cast is going to be, for the cement, is going to equal to 172 bags, and for our sand is going to work out to be 23 cubic yards. Now, based on my estimation, I am going to approximate that the rendering takes the same amount of material. It can be a little bit more or it can be a little bit less, but I think it is in the range of the same quantity. So we are going to use the same quantity that we have obtained for our rough cast, the same for our rendering. As I said, it can be more or it can be less, but in my estimation is around the same approximation. Now I'm going to be working out the amount of paint that it is going to need to take care of this wall footing here. But before I move on to that, I have made a little error in my calculation where I have this 22 cubic yards. This is supposed to equal to 47.66, and you can round this up to 48 cubic yards. So it is actually going to take 172 bags and 48 cubic yards of sand. I just want to point out that error before I move on. Now I'm going to be calculating the amount of paint that it will take to paint this wall structure here. Now, based on my research, it is going to take 1 gallon of paint to cover approximately 400 square feet of wall. That's 1 gallon to 400 square feet of wall. Now, based on our calculation so far, we have come up with a surface area that is 420 square feet on one side. Now, based on my approximation, this 400 square feet of wall is basically similar to this 420 square feet by approximation. It's just out a mere 20 square feet. So for me, I am going to be using this 400 square feet of 1 gallon to cover my 420 square feet. So it is going to be 420 square feet, which will equal to 1 gallon of paint. Right? So it is going to equal to this 420 square feet is going to equal to 1 gallon of paint. But we have to take into consideration that we are going to give this wall basically 2 coats. More than likely it is going to need 2 coats, especially if the wall is not rough cast or rendered properly. And at times you might need 3 coats, but for this exercise we are going to use 2 coats. So for 2 coats, we know that this 420 square feet is going to equal to 2 gallons. And you have to remember that we are going to paint both sides of this wall here. So we are going to need 2 gallons times 2, so that is going to be 2 times 2 gallons, that is going to be 4 gallons. And just to be on the safe side, should in case there are any spillage of paint or a person might be passing and hit over a bucket of paint or some paint, so I'm going to add another gallon to this 4 gallon and bring this up to 5 gallons. So it is going to take 5 gallons of paint to paint this wall structure on both sides with a minimum coats of 2 per side. So let's us recap on what we have calculated so far, and I think we have come to the end of the calculation for the material quantities. So let us look on what we have calculated so far. So thus far we have calculated the excavation to be 410 cubic feet or 15.19 cubic yards or 11.60 meter cube. We can use any of these measurements, these quantities, to get the overall cost. So we have calculated the number of 6 inches block to be 760, even though we know the actual amount that is going to be used to construct the wall is 722, but we are going to purchase 760 should in case there are any breakage. We calculate the backfill to be 205 cubic feet or 7.59 cubic yards or 5.74 meter cube. We calculated the concrete 124, that is, to be 227 cubic feet or 8.4 cubic yards or 6.4 meter cube. We calculated the reinforcement steel to be 0.35 tons. We calculated the 1-3 mortar mix to be 44 bags of cement and 13 cubic yards of sand. The rough cast and the rendering, as I mentioned to you before, is going to be the same, which is 172 bags of cement and 48 cubic yards of sand. The same thing for the rendering, 172 bags of cement and 48 cubic yards of sand. And for the painting, we have 5 gallons. So that concludes the material quantity for this wall structure here. And next week I am going to be calculating the cost for the material quantities. I'm going to be doing some calls to Tankwell and other hardware back in Jamaica to obtain the cost for one block, the cost per ton of steel, the cost per ton of the cost per concrete, and the cost per cubic yards of sand, and so forth. So this is the end of this video. If you're watching my channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe, and to my regular viewers and subscribers, big up on yourself, enough respect, and I appreciate you. Thank you.